my Bahama land, yeah. Friends in every place, a smile on every face. Children at play, time with family today. Someone fill my plate, homemade bread, I can't wait. I can't get enough, I will always stay in touch with my Bahama land, yeah.
Rare Voice introduces Bahamaland, an unlimited nationwide calling plan for only $5 a month. So call home today and connect again with Bahamaland. Home never felt so close.
My Bahamaland, yeah.
Leslie Miller claims he made abuse claims in jest. However, the opposition isn't buying it. Fred Mitchell didn't hold back while responding to Dr. Miles Monroe.
Homie, don't play that.
A man robbed and murdered overnight. Plus, the Prime Minister meets with a 67-year-old shooting victim. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonnie Toot, and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, more than a year after voters went to the polls and rejected the regulation and taxation of web shops, as well as the creation of a national lottery, Minister responsible for gaming Obi Wilshcombe announced in Parliament this evening that government intends to regulate web shops by July 1st. During his contribution to the mid-year budget debate in the House of Assembly, the tourism minister told parliamentarians he knows this decision won't sit well with some religious leaders, but the church will preach and the government will govern. He added that the issue of web shops has been out there too long, but the Christie administration intends to deal with it.
I intend to bring to the government of the Bahamas in 2 weeks the regulations that are being proposed by my ministry, the regulations that I hope to bring to Parliament and lay on the table of the House of Assembly when we have the debate on gaming to make the regularized web shops official by July 1st this year, Mr. Speaker. We're not going any further.
Get it done. Let's get it done. The Bahamas Christian Council launched a Vote No campaign ahead of last year's failed gambling referendum, and on January 28, 2013, 17,000 more people voted no on the regulation and taxation of web shops than those who voted yes. That failed poll cost taxpayers more than $1 million. Several religious leaders have criticized the government repeatedly over the past year for failing to follow the will of the people and shut web shops down. However, Wilshcombe insisted this evening that while government officials respect the church, they have to make decisions.
The church will have difficulties. The church will take its strong positions. And we have no difficulty with that, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly don't have a difficulty. I understand that. But I know one thing, the church will preach and the church will teach, but we must govern.
Wilshcombe says he wants to congratulate the Ingram administration, which he claims initiated meetings between government and web shop officials. The West End and Bimini MP says that was the right thing. As for the present government's push for the regulation of web shops, Wilshcombe says he will submit a proposal to government that speaks to web shops, a period of closure, fees they must pay, and how that money ought to be distributed. He says his cabinet colleagues will make a final decision before it is tabled in the House of Assembly.
My ministry, my legal team has been engaged. We've brought in people from abroad already, have put in place for me the technology that we're going to require to monitor the system, to monitor what's going on based on what we see in the reports that have been done, how it's going to work. We're going to require, it will require us employing new Bahamians to work, and we will have a revamp of the gaming board to create the gaming commission, Mr. Speaker. The gaming commissioner will have a full-time chairman, an executive chairman, will have a body that will certainly be able to monitor what's going on in our country. And, Mr. Speaker, insofar as the gaming laws are concerned in the country, we're going to change those.
Wilshcombe says he intends to bring in 1 or 2 consultants and work closely with the Ministry of Finance to ensure it is done right, then ask the opposition to stand with the government. Tall Pines Member of Parliament Leslie Miller is defending comments he made about physical abuse in the House of Assembly last week, insisting those remarks were made in jest. He told parliamentarians today he has never abused a woman in his life and has stood up for women's rights. He also hit out at the Nassau Guardian and Free National Movement Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner over that headline story. Here's what he said in Parliament last week.
That's like beating your wife or your girlfriend every time you go home. You just beat her for looking at her. I love you. Boom, boom, boom. I had a girlfriend like that, but I don't beat her. She used to tell me, I love her no more because I hate her. No, seriously. I had one like that. I had one.
We know.
She used to tell me.
We know that you're joking with that.
I'm serious with that. I tell I get tired, man. My hand's a little hurting a little bit. Give me a break.
Leslie, man, no man.
I'm telling you the truth. One thing I don't do is lie.
Some members of parliament laughed on February 20th as Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller made comments about physical abuse and one of his ex-girlfriends. He made the claims during his contribution to the mid-year budget debate. At the time, Miller was on his feet criticizing the opposition, which he accused of not standing up for Bahamian fishermen while it was in government, but now pressuring the present government to assist them. He compared that behavior to an abusive relationship. Well, today, he stood up in the House of Assembly on a point of privilege and blasted the Nassau Guardian for running that headline story.
It was said in jest, and they knew it was said in jest. Yet, in the newspapers this morning, the Nassau Guardian, it says Miller under fire for abuse remarks. Now, Mr. Speaker, anybody in their right mind that I have ever abused any woman in my life in this country?
The outspoken MP also slammed F&M Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner for commenting on it when contacted by the newspaper yesterday.
It is amazing to me the level that some members would go in this parliament to berate and downgrade others for these cheap political points. Nonsensical that a newspaper like The Guardian could print such a headline and have the audacity to go to the Honorable Minister and ask for her comments. In fact, I got a call from my two daughters this morning, 7 o'clock, asking me what the problem was, who was this I was involved with, that I abused someone. You know, my daughters have 3 children each. I'm a grandfather. This is serious business.
Miller says Butler Turner was present when he made the comments last Thursday, but said nothing at the time. Well, the Long Island MP fired back at Miller today, saying she stands by her comments.
Mr. Speaker, no amount of shouting, no amount of denial, no amount of the good that you think you may have done can deny what was said in this honorable House on Thursday last by the member for Tall Pines. It went so far, Mr. Speaker, that the Hansard will show that you actually asked if he's joking, and he retorted, "No, I'm not joking," and then went on to say his hand is hurting.
Speaking with NB12 outside the House of Assembly, Butler Turner noted that none of Miller's female colleagues said anything, despite blasting her weeks ago over women's rights. In fact, when asked about Miller's remarks, Social Services Minister Melanie Griffin offered no comment.
Nobody said anything then, and when he stood up to backpedal on that particular remark today, they actually applauded him, and one member suggested that I should in turn apologize to the member for Tall Pines. I will not apologize. I will not back down.
So what does House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major think about Miller's abuse remarks? He told NB12 today he believed Miller when he claimed it was a joke, but asserted it was a bad joke. He added that Bahamians do not want to hear certain things coming from parliamentarians.
Yeah, it's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. There's no question about it. We have to always be mindful of what we say in the House of Assembly in the heat of battle. Many things are said, but even worse things are said from the seats of members. I hear all the time back and forth on both sides. And so members have to always be mindful that they are heard, it's on camera, and when they're standing up, the thing that we say is taken across the world, and sometimes it's very difficult to pull it back.
After serving as Speaker of the House for nearly 2 years, Dr. Major says he has gotten to know MPs and understand where they're coming from. Leslie Miller, he says, is a very colorful MP who uses colorful language.
He wanted to create an effect, and I believe, obviously, the effect perhaps was misconstrued. It came out wrongly, and it probably went too far. So that's why I thought I'd help the member by asking him if he was joking, and of course, you know, the rest is history. So he felt it important, and I thought it was good for him to come before Parliament and to restate his position and his intent. And he said that he was joking, and I accept him for what he says.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell responding to statements surrounding his recent comments on the LGBT communities. Those comments have prompted responses from prominent religious leaders. One of them even suggested he step down from his ministerial post. Well, today, Mitchell said not only will he remain minister, but he will seek a higher position if given the opportunity. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
During that press conference this afternoon, Mitchell not only defended his views on the LGBT community, but also revealed his intentions to one day become leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. Mitchell says his intentions are no secret and added that if given the opportunity, he would seek leadership of the party when the spot is vacant. But Mitchell said there is a race for succession going on, and his views on this particular subject are being used by some to disqualify him from that leadership post.
There's some people who obviously are aware of my ambitions in that direction. I mean, it's not something that I've been hiding. There is no vacancy in the country at the moment. There is no vacancy, so the question doesn't arise. But that doesn't stop people from trying to plot and scheme into the future and say, this fella, I want to stop him if I can. Now the most recent attack here is because none of that works. What you suggest is because of his views on this particular subject of LGBT, that disqualifies him. And of course, that's not what they really mean. And I'm not going to help him out on this occasion. That's not what they really mean. But they're trying to pin something on you and say to the Bahamian people, you're unfit to go further.
The minister also responded to President of Bahamas Faith Ministries Dr. Miles Monroe, who suggested Prime Minister Perry Christie should replace Mitchell for his comments while speaking at a university in Trinidad and Tobago. Monroe accused Mitchell of having a personal agenda and suggested he was not representing the prevailing view held by most Bahamians. Mitchell made it clear Monroe is entitled to his views, but he shouldn't make it personal. Mitchell added that he has already spoken to Bishop Simeon Hall, who said yesterday that the tone of the LGBT debate disappointed him.
I spoke to Bishop Simeon Hall this morning, and I said to him that it doesn't matter to me who you are or where you say it. You do not have the right to make these kind of vile innuendos, slanderous statements, and then hide behind theology and say that gives you the right to do so. If you're going to have a civil discourse, then let's have a civil discourse and say, I disagree with that. I don't stand for that. That's against my moral beliefs. You can expect that I am going to respond in kind. I don't care who you are or where you stand. I am going to respond to it. If the preachers don't know Christ, I could show them where Christ is, and I could show them the path to Christ.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
A 26-year-old man wearing an electronic monitoring device has been arrested in connection with last night's murder in Chippingham. According to police reports, a man and a woman were sitting in a 2003 Dodge Town and Country van on a vacant lot on Roseland Street when they were approached by a man who was armed with a handgun. Superintendent Paul Rowe was at the scene last night and told reporters the victim was robbed before being fatally shot.
Officers responded to the scene where upon arrival they met a male suffering from a single gunshot wound to the back. The victim was sitting in his vehicle along with his female companion having a conversation when they were accosted by a lone male who produced a handgun and demanded cash and their belongings. This male relieved them of their telephones, cash, and some jewelry.
The victim later died in hospital. Roll says the lone gunman escaped by running through a nearby cemetery. As investigators combed the scene last night, Roll said officers from the Firearms Tracing Unit arrested the 26-year-old suspect in the Quarry Mission Road area. Despite his arrest, police are still asking for the public's help. Anyone with information is asked to contact police at 911, 919, or 502-9991. 4 days after sending a letter requesting a meeting with Prime Minister Perry Christie, the 67-year-old woman shot during a home invasion last month got her wish today. Veteran educator Judith Blair and her son Peter met with Christie in the majority room of the House of Assembly this afternoon. Christie told reporters he was deeply moved by her story and was grateful for her recommendation that government implement prayer-based crime-fighting initiatives.
She's taken the opportunity to meet with me to indicate to me that she thought that I should lead some gathering, make some national call for there to be a solemn gathering of people who, in addition to prayer, would be able to focus on the ills of the country and perhaps have a more united way of dealing with those ills.
On February 11th, 2 gunmen entered Blair's home in Blue Hill Estates through the back door, ordered the Blairs to lie on the floor, and demanded cash before opening fire. Police say Blair was grazed in her left temple and shot in the stomach. Her 34-year-old son Marvin was shot in the abdomen. The mother and grandmother made this appeal to criminals.
I want to say to you, we can change that. We love you. We understand your plight. And the Prime Minister agrees with me that we are going to reach out to you. So I believe the Prime Minister is going to do what the Lord say to do. Call a solemn assembly in this land, a day when we will, as a nation, come together, stop what we're doing, and ask God forgiveness, and know that He will intervene and give us the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge that we need to build this nation